Ow! Greetings, YouTube. This is DecKrash, better known as Brandon. Okay, I just got back with a friend of mine from going to see Star Trek Into Darkness. I caught the midnight showing, the very first one, because this is a movie that I really have been wanting to check out, and I'm giving you this little review of it. Okay, first things first. I will try with all my might to make this as spoiler-free as possible. I do not know how successful I'm going to be, because simply this movie has so many big plot reveals that it's going to be hard for me to do. I'm going to try, I guess, just give the most bare bones bit of the plot I possibly can, because there are going to be so many things. There are so many things in this plot that are just going to be a big reveal. I'm actually kind of looking forward to Movie Bob's review of this, because I'm going to see what he's going to do. Most likely, he's going to have to go whole hog and give the whole thing away. But as for me, I'm going to try to be as spoiler-free as possible. If I am not successful, I will have a notification that it does have spoilers. Okay, we're clear? We're clear. So if you see the spoiler thing, feel free not to watch the video until you've seen the movie. Okay, so with that being said, Star Trek Into Darkness. So it's not entirely clear how long after the first movie it takes place, maybe a few years. It starts off with Kirk and his crew on an alien planet called Nibiru. Wow, could you have been any less creative with that one? For those of you who don't know anything about Nibiru, look that up. It's sort of a conspiracy theorist nut jobs think that this planet's heading towards Earth or something like that. But that's another story for another time. Anyway, so we're on this planet called Nibiru, and they seem to get in trouble with the local population because Kirk has stolen some sort of scroll they seem to worship. I think they were trying to get him away from that village around this temple, because in the backdrop there's a volcano that's about to explode. And what happens is they have Spock going down to the volcano in a special suit to set off a cold fusion reaction that'll freeze up the volcano to save the village. Well, it's actually if this volcano would have gone off, I think it must have been like some sort of a super volcano, and it would have just destroyed the entire planet. But in doing so, they have to go and rescue Spock, which requires revealing the Enterprise to the natives, thus breaking the Prime Directive. Now, of course, big no-no among Starfleet. So this ends up resulting in a bit of headbutting between Kirk and Spock. Kirk, who lies about the whole deal in his report, Spock, who tells the whole truth, of course, being Vulcan. And for those of you who are new to Star Trek, Vulcans, as a rule, don't lie. At least not outrightly. So anyway, this results in Kirk having the Enterprise taken away from him and given back to Commander Pike, who couldn't defend Kirk in this particular case, and having Spock transferred to another ship. But then Christopher Pike goes on ahead and gets Kirk as his first officer. And during this time in London, something strange is going on. They just focus on some unnamed family who the husband I guess he works for Starfleet at an installation in London, and he ends up meeting some guy who is later revealed to be a man named John Harrison, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, who makes a deal with him, some sort of a deal involving a ring and a vial of his blood to save his daughter. And the Starfleet guy, I guess, agrees. He gives the daughter the vial of blood, and he goes to work and puts this ring in water, and the reaction causes an explosion, which destroys the facility and kills a whole bunch of people, and now has like Starfleet looking for him. So what happens is that Kirk is attending this meeting, the big heads of Starfleet, among which is the head of Starfleet at this time, a guy named Admiral Marcus, who's played by the guy who played RoboCop, Peter Weller, RoboCop himself, the original. So anyway, the whole deal is to find this guy. But, Kirk is kind of wondering what's going on here. This guy should have fled Earth a long time ago. And then, of course, he realizes, okay, no, he knows about the whole Starfleet regulation because the records say this John Harrison guy is a member of Starfleet. And sure enough, Harrison appears in this flying ship and kills all the members of the heads of Starfleet except for Kirk and Admiral Marcus. Even Christopher Pike, who's there, Pike is killed, and Kirk wants revenge and decides to go after Marcus and not Marcus, excuse me, after John Harrison. I think what I said Marcus earlier meant John Harrison. Anyway, so what starts off, however, as a manhunt becomes something much, much more, involving some specialized photon torpedoes that are given to Kirk. John Harrison's having used a specialized transporter, which actually was talked about in the first movie, the first movie of the whole reimagined Star Trek that Scotty had built, a transporter that can transport to other planets. John Harrison uses it to transport to Kronos, the Klingon homeworld, for those of you who don't know. So you get to see the Klingons in this one. You know, there was a deleted scene in the original that involved Klingons. But anyway, so it starts off as a manhunt, but is revealed once they get to Kronos to be a whole lot more. And let's just say this John Harrison guy is not who he appears to be. And there's much more to this story, mostly involving Admiral Marcus. And also a newer character in the mix. Admiral Marcus's daughter, and I'm trying to find her name, Carol Marcus. I'm using Wikipedia, you know how I'm really bad with names. So, yeah, and so Carol Marcus, who has snuck aboard the Enterprise to try to figure out what's going on. This movie grabs you by the lapels, starts on all four cylinders, and keeps going. It does have moments to let you breathe, but this is a straight-up action movie, a sci-fi action movie. Now, some Trekkies might have resented that because if you've seen the first one, you're not, and you didn't like the first one, you're most likely not gonna like this one. Okay. But I have to hand it to the people who are busy with with J.J. Abrams and those guys who are doing the Star Trek movies. They understand one interesting thing that if any of you have ever watched Plinkett reviews, he mentioned when doing his own reviews of the other Star Trek movies, the ones that have been previous. The good Star Trek movies tended to be very action based. Because Star Trek, if you've ever watched any of the series, the original series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, are all fairly paced to be more stories of exploration and discovery. Unfortunately, that kind of milieu doesn't translate well into a 90-minute to 120-minute or more movie. To keep a person interested, if you're going to have a space saga, you have to give it a good base of action. That's the reason why the Wrath of Khan was so good. The Voyage Home was so good. The Undiscovered Country and First Contact. Personally, I thought that Insurrection was actually pretty good, even though that one was a bit less action based. But what I'm trying to say is that this is what made those Star Trek movies good, was being able to get a good mix of action along with sprinklings of the discovery bit. In this movie, you got your aliens, you got a good action scene involving Klingons, which I really loved. You have other alien races brought in. I mean, this is one part where Kirk wakes up in a bed after, I guess, a night of getting with two cat girls, or sort of cat-like. They have tails and almost feline features, at least as far as I could see. And a whole lot of other various alien races. I don't really need to go into a whole lot of detail with, but it's really cool seeing the costume effects. This movie is top-notch when it comes to all the really, really good special effects, ship designs, technology, the alien races. They didn't need to go into a hefty amount of explanation of them all, but they were still interesting, even though the movie's at its heart an action movie. And as I said before, this plot has some serious twists and turns. There is a huge reveal in this movie that will either leave you with your jaw on the floor or saying, I knew it. I'm not going to tell you what that is. If you like Star Trek in any way, form, or fashion, you need to see it just for that big reveal. The characters still great. All the folks who were in the original still do a very good job of what they're given, even though some of them are given quite a bit less. Some of the reviewers that I've seen have a problem with Anton Yelchin, who played oh my god. All of a sudden, I'm just totally blanking. Chekhov, excuse me. Yeah, Anton Yelchin, who played Chekhov, getting very little to his role, and I am inclined to agree. He had the smallest role, despite the fact that, and I can give away just this little bit. Kirk and Scotty have a bit of a disagreement, which causes Scotty to leave the Enterprise for a time. Not going to tell you what that's all about because that is integral to the plot. Scotty makes reappearance and still has a very strong presence in the movie, so don't freak out. But Anton Yelchin's portrayal of Chekhov, Anton Yelchin gave it his all, despite the fact that he had the smallest part. Zachary Quinto and Christopher Pine still have awesome chemistry as Kirk and Spock. Even better this time. You see their relationship truly grow. Carl Urban, a smaller part once again, but still playing the delightful gruffness of McCoy. I have to say, DeForest Kelley would have been proud of him. John Cho, another one where he's got a fairly small role, Sulu, but still did really well with what he was given. And Zoe Saldana, though, having a slightly bigger role in this one than she did in the first, did very well too. All of them playing really excellent parts. It even expanded a little bit on her on Uhura's relationship with Spock in this. So I really enjoyed this. Oh, and Leonard Nimoy makes a reappearance for a cameo in this, and it's a very important cameo. And I'll just say that's all I'm saying. That is all I'm going to say. Simon Pegg, though, does steal a show as Scotty. Okay, he got the biggest of all the secondary roles, and he does an astounding job with it. You're gonna absolutely love him. So all the roles are done very well. Peter Weller does a great job as Admiral Marcus. I just wish I could tell you more about what he does, because this movie is a massive package of secrets being revealed. The newcomer to the whole deal, as we said, Admiral Marcus's daughter. She, oh my God, and I always just seem to just skip out on the names all the time, and I'm looking right at the cast, and I guess I'm just going too fast. But anyway, Carol Marcus, that's her name. Alice Eve as Carol Marcus works fairly well it does a good job of what she's given as her character. And especially because she does have an important part to play. But another part of you is going to think that she's just there for sex appeal. I mean, if you've seen any of the trailers, you see her just dressed in her skivvies. Now, there is a reason for it. It's not because Kirk's trying to get with her. But she does a good job. Everybody, despite the smallness of their roles, they are given a small role, does a great job with what they are given. Okay, so excellent visual effects that we've seen. Of course, you wouldn't. It's Star Trek. I mean, why would you have bad visual effects? They're all incredibly well done. Great performances, despite the fact that many of the central characters have been given much smaller roles this time. Let me see. The plot will blow you away. However, and I wish I could give you more detail, they do make certain nods to other things about Star Trek that, in this case, I'm a bit torn about it because I know that if you are a hardcore fan of Star Trek, of the original series, you may not like these nods and what they do because they tend to be a very integral part of the plot. There's a couple of nods there. Actually, two little nods, well, maybe not so little. They are, well, one isn't. It didn't have to do that, though it did kind of work for the scene. But one, you at least understand that it is integral to a certain thing about the plot. And so people who are fans of Star Trek, but they're not hardcore rabid fans, will give it a pass, even though they would say, I would have preferred that they didn't do that. But they will, at least I think, like me, be understanding of it. Whereas hardcore rabid fans are going to be very, very upset. Personally, I didn't have a problem with it. Other reviews that I've seen of this movie thus far have been pretty darn good. And I personally love this movie. They, like I said, I think I said this already. Star Trek fan, and you know your Trek. This will either blow you away or may not surprise you at all, but will still be quite a delight. Oh, and Benedict Cumberbatch's role, I forgot about him, is wow. Wow. This guy makes an astoundingly good villain. So on the whole, as I said, you go watch now. Great movie. You know, I can't really think of a reason why you wouldn't go watch it. Unless you just don't like sci-fi or don't like Star Trek. Well, then that's just a whole matter of taste, which is a totally different story for another time. Scale of 1 to 10. Solid 9. It would have been a perfect 10 if it had not been for that one or two little nods, well, not so little nods to the original that I feel they shouldn't have done. But I personally can't think of how else they could have done it. That's just me. Still, a genuine must-see, one of the best movies that has come out for this for the best, one of the best summer yet. Well, down here it pretty much feels like summer. But it's a great opening movie to the summer next to, well, Iron Man 3, which had come out recently. This one is a treat and an experience. Go check it out, everyone. So, if you have seen it, or if you want to discuss it, just leave a leave a comment down below. As always, keep it civil. And I think that's about it on my end, everyone. So until next time, this is DecKrash, better known as Brandon, and as always, stay lucky and stay blessed. Take care.